Hi, I'm Ariane Poole. I've been an international makeup artist for over 40 years, and I am thrilled to be here with Platinum Magazine to share my hints, tips, techniques on positive aging. Now, you may be wondering, why is she talking to us and she's only got half of her face made up? It looks very strange. Well, I want to show you that there are 5 ways that you may not be aware of that your makeup or your makeup techniques are actually aging you. So I want to show you how to correct these so that you can look the best you at any age. Let's get started with tip number 1, foundation and concealer. Foundation and concealer can be our friend or our enemy as we get older. Our friend when it covers up high coloring, discoloration, pigmentation, evens out our skin tone. Our enemy when it is too heavy, makes our skin look older and emphasizes fine lines and wrinkled. You can see here when the color no longer is the right color or texture for us. All of these things. So you need to find a balance. If you're someone who's never worn a foundation and suddenly is looking at themselves thinking, ooh, I need a little bit of help because I'm getting a little bit blotchy or I'm getting pigmentation, then you might look at a tinted moisturizer, a BB cream, a CC cream, or something like my Ultimate Face Tint. If you're someone who's worn a heavier coverage foundation like this one here, which covers beautifully, but is too heavy, you may want to look for something similar, but that is pigment rich, yet a lighter weight. So it doesn't weigh your skin down, because with the heavier foundation, it almost literally pulls the skin down. Bear in mind color. If you're someone who's worn a certain foundation for the past few years, you may suddenly be thinking, oh, the color's not looking right. That's because our skin tone also changes as we get older. We lose pigment, the same as we lose pigment in our hair and we go gray, we lose pigment in our skin, but it's a much more subtle, gradual thing and we don't notice as much. So I've got a foundation on here that I normally would wear, but it is too dark for me now because my skin tone has changed. I've done that on purpose so you can see every time you reach for the whatever color it is, you need to check it every so often just to see if it's still the right color for you. So I'm going to get started. As you can see, I've got a lot of high coloring. Now, because I've got high coloring, I sometimes will wear heavier foundation. Sometimes I will wear, and what I mean by heavier is I use my foundation stick, which is lightweight and a hydrating foundation stick, but I might want to put a little bit of extra concealer on there or something like that, because you can see I've got coloring here and there. Not great. So what I'm going to do is with the concealers, with the foundation, I'm putting it on before the concealer is what I was going to say. So I'm putting the foundation, I'm popping that on. Now it looks a bit yellowy here, but wait till I buff it out, because what the yellow is doing is neutralizing the red. Now, I've done exactly the same skincare-wise on both sides. So I put on my moisturizer, and I've also put on my hyaluronic serum, and I put a little bit of eye cream, because I want to make sure that what I'm showing you is the same on both sides. It's not that I've done something terrible on this side and something not good and something much better on the other side. I want to make sure that you know that it is something that we do on a regular basis. And what we're doing is we're just correcting and tweaking those things. So this is a lighter weight foundation, even though it's got good coverage, and it is covering that redness. Now, I'm going to take a little bit extra, and I'm just going to pat that on. I'm using a soft buffing brush, and I'm using it in a kind of stipply manner. Now, I could use my fingertips. So if you were going to be using your fingertips, I would do that. You could use another type of a foundation brush if you want. You could even, if you really wanted to, use a beauty blender. Now, I'm putting a light covering underneath my eyes, not heavy. And the reason for that is because I don't want to put on too much concealer. I want all the blemishes and things and the unevenness concealed, but I don't want it to be too heavy. So I'm popping that. Make sure you do around your mouth as well, because I've seen so many things, so many videos where they leave this bit here and then you've got this weird discoloration across your upper lip and it looks very strange. Now I'm going to take a little bit of that here and put it underneath my brow bone as well. I did the same here just to get rid of that redness, because I get a lot of redness here now, which I never used to. So your skin obviously gets much thinner as we get older. So all of these little things come out, and it's not about trying to fight against them. It's trying to adapt and know things that will help that and smooth that out. So you can see I'm just popping a little bit there. Now I'm going to go on to concealer. And I'm not going to do any powdering until the very end. Now on this side, I have done powdering because in the past we put our foundation on and then pat the powder on. Most products nowadays have a dry down, settle down time. So if you put powder on immediately after you've done your foundation or any of your tinted moisturizer products, you're going to get like a double whammy of powder, which looks very aging. So I'm smoothing that out. So now I'm going to go on to concealer. Now, when I was younger, I used a much heavier concealer under my eyes, and it was fabulous. I loved how it looked. It got rid of all the dark circles and everything. Now, I can't do it that way. I have to use a lighter weight, and again, pigment-rich one. So I'm using my Mineral Illuminating Pen. I'm using the shade Light because I've used sand in this. So I'm going up half a shade. Don't go too light, because what that does is gives you that reverse effect. Now, I'm also going to go a lot lower, so I'm going to do that. So I might be putting on a little bit more than I would normally put on, just to show. So you see how I've done like a little sunshine, like little rays of sunshine. The reason why I've done that is because our bone here makes our eyes look more sunken, and it makes this dark circle look more prominent. So I'm going to do that. I'm just going to pat that away. And I'm not pushing it into the skin. I'm just patting it so that it just covers the dark circles. Now, if you're someone that's got those bluey dark circles, my suggestion would be to use a peachy colored one. The peachy neutralizes those kind of bluey dark circles beautifully. So you want to go close to your skin tone, maybe half a shade lighter, not 2 shades lighter, not even a whole shade lighter if you can get away with it, because you don't want it to look obvious. You want it to look like you look great, you look well rested, you don't look like you've got this whiteness underneath your eyes or on top. Now I put a little bit of that on my eyelid because I've also noticed that my eyelids tend to look really almost like they're stained as I've gotten older, and that makes me look tired as well. So the other places I put it is here, because I like to get rid of those kind of frowny, grumpy lines. And then a little bit here on my 11s. So I'm going to put that there. And that just brightens up that area. And now I am going to go on to tip number 2, eyebrows. Brows are so important as we get older. I've even given them their own section. Now, I heard from so many different sources that the brows frame your face. Well, actually, they don't frame your face. Your hair frames your face because it goes all around your face. Your brows don't do that. Your brows do frame your eyes, and they can give your eyes a lift. They can give your face a lift. They can make a difference between your eyes looking bright, vibrant, and lifted to sad, tired, and droopy. So let me go through. I've done this side the conventional way that we've all been taught. So I'll recap on that. So you lay your pencil on the side of your nose and you fill in starting here. I've done that. Take your pencil and lie it diagonally from the corner to the corner of your eye, and that's where it should end. I've done that. And then I put it along here on the outer edge of the iris. That's where they should start to arch. I've done that. So I've done all of that correctly. I have chosen a color that's close to my natural hair color, which is brunette. And then I've brushed my brows up and I filled in from underneath and did exactly what I was supposed to do. Now, it doesn't look quite right to me. What it's done is it's made my eye look a little bit more droopy. I find that the color is a little bit too heavy. What I notice that is when you get older, you need to go a little bit lighter in your brows. Not too light, but just a touch. Now, I'm not saying don't cover up the gray ones or the white ones, because that's really important. But let me show you my technique for getting perfect shaped brows. So I'm going to go, instead of going for brunette, I'm going to go for a brow balm, and I'm going to do it in blonde, okay? I know you're looking at me, not thinking, oh, she's definitely not a blonde. Now, how I do it is I brush the eyebrows down to start with. Now, why is that? Because if you fill in from underneath, what happens is you close the eye down. So you're bringing it down. And then when you bring it down here, you're bringing it down again. So you've got a double whammy of bringing it down. So I'm going to grab the brow balm. You can use anything you like. You can use a powder, you can use a pencil, you can use your favorite eyeshadow, whatever works for you. Now, also bear in mind that the oils in your skin also change the brow color, which is the other reason why I'm going for a blonde, because it's going to go a little bit darker than the actual blonde color. So I'm etching here along the top of my brows. You see how even though I'm using a blonde color, it's not going blonde because my skin's natural pH is changing it to a slightly darker color. So be aware of that. When you've gone to choose your color, sometimes you get that brunette color if you're a brunette and you put it on and it's like, oh my gosh, that's really dark. That's what's happened to me here. So I'm taking that, I'm etching along, and I'm going to just take a little bit of this and put it on my finger and put it on the back of my hand so you can see. Do you see that color? That doesn't look like that color at all. So now I've gone along the top and I've stopped here. So if I take my pencil or my brush, you see I've gone about 1/4 of an inch up. And what that does is it lifts that side. Now I am going to fill in a little bit from underneath. So I'm going to brush them up. I need a little bit more here because even if I just do this, you see how that just gives that little bit more structure, and it makes my eye look a lot bigger and lifted. This side just kind of has that droopiness going on. Do you see what I'm saying there? And this side gives it a lift. It isn't bringing this bit of my eye down, and it looks really up, and it looks like the whole face is going that way, even though all I've done is done my brows. Now on to eyeliner, which eyeliner, as we get older, really helps define our eye shape and our eyes, because as we get older, that definition just vanishes and it is hard to put it back with just mascara. So I'm using an eye pencil. I'm using a gel. Now I'm going to show you how I've done this side just so you can see, and I'm sure that this is how most of you do it. You hold your eye and then you draw along. I'm using a pencil because it's nice and soft, and I could smudge that if I want. Now, that's fine, and I've done a nice line there, but I find that, again, this is making my eye droop down. Now, this is my least droopy eye. This is my most droopy eye. So if I had no makeup on and you looked at my eyes, you would think that this one was the lifted one, and this one is the droopy one. So let me show you how I give my eyes a lift. Really super simple. So in your mirror, looking straight ahead, tilt your head back, look up your nostrils, or you can hold it underneath here and do it this way, depending on which is most comfortable for your neck, okay? So I'm going to hold it like this. I'm looking in the mirror, looking at my nostrils because that keeps my eyes straight and steady. And then I am going to hold my pencil horizontally, start in the center, and etch along, but I'm stopping just at the edge of the eyelashes before they go down. So I'm not following the eye line all the way down. I'm keeping it mainly in the center portion, and it just gives the eye a really nice lift. So let me just add a little bit more here and blend that a little bit. I could do the same thing if I wanted to add a liquid pen, you know, the liquid kind of liner. It's really easy. So you can see how that works. Now, if you wanted to create a flick, because I know a lot of you ladies ask me about a flick. As we get older, flicks are much more difficult to do because our eyes don't age evenly. And also we start getting this hooded effect. So this is a really good way of faking the faking the flick. Is you take your pencil underneath, you don't really draw, so you're holding it like that, and then you just do a little bit of a flick there, and you see how that just gives it a little bit of a lift. It gives it an illusion of a lift, not too much, so you get that lifted effect. And you can see how this eye looks like I'm sad, and this eye looks lifted. The other thing that you can do, which works so well, is if you have something like these mineral pens, take it, and after you've done the flick or before, just take it and run it up like that. And that just gives the eye yet another lift. Look at that. That just brings it up really nicely. Now, I haven't done mascara on either one of my eyes, only because I wanted you to see the effect, because mascara can hide and disguise, but I want you to get the right effect. So this is the eyeliner coming down. Makes me look sad. And this is the eyeliner stopping, and then just having that little edge going up like that. Now on to step number 4, which is blush and a bit of bronzer. Now let's add a bit of color. If you're someone who has chosen their foundation or tinted moisturizer, BB cream, to match their now skin tone, you may find that you've gone a bit lighter or a little bit paler, and that might be making you feel a little bit washed out. So this is where we add the color, not with a darker face product, but with bronzer and blusher. So let's start off with bronzer. Most people apply a bronzer with a big fluffy brush, which is what we've been told to in the past. I find that these are just too big, and they tend to get the bronzer all over the place, onto the lashes and everywhere. It gets a bit messy. I prefer to use a slightly smaller brush to do that, to apply the bronzer. And I'm going to go for my bronzing duo in Creme Caramel, but you can choose whatever you want. It's absolutely up to you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to swirl this around, tap off the excess, and then I'm going to put it along my forehead like that, just a sweep. And so I'm much more in control with this smaller brush, so that when I go here, I can really control where that's going. And I'm going to put a little bit along my jawline, because that gives my jawline a lot of definition, which I love, because we don't want to have a jowly effect. Then I'm going to put a teeny bit on my neck. Now I'm going to go on this side as well, because we don't want to leave that side out. I don't want you to think, oh, she's done that on one side but not the other. So I put a little bit on my neck. And the reason why I always put a bronzer on my neck is because our necks don't catch the sun. When we put product on, we don't necessarily bring it down here. And I'm not advocating any any foundation going onto your neck. A little bit of bronzer here if you're wearing an open neck, fantastic. So then I'm going to put a little bit here. I had that on already, so I'm going to put there and put it there. And along the jawline as well. So you can see here that I've done both sides. And the sheen on both of my cheek, this is the sheen from just not having put powder on. It gives it a bit of a glow, which is really nice. I may put a little bit powder on the end. Haven't decided yet. So now on to blusher. As we get older, we don't really want to put our blusher up too high, because what that does is it draws emphasis and points to this area here where we are getting fine lines, wrinkles, and things like that. And especially if we're not using the right color concealer or the right texture concealer, if it's too heavy, you see how that's just really emphasizing these fine lines and wrinkles, making them look so much more prominent. Now, I'm going to use exactly the same blush, so I'm tapping that in. And this is a color called Whisper. And I'm putting it just here, slightly lower than this one. And the reason why I'm doing that, if you smile and put it on the apples of your cheek, you're going to just put it right underneath here. If you give your eye that space, it makes the eye look more open. It takes away from anything that's happening underneath your eyes, especially those of you who may feel that you've got bags or that puffiness. If you keep that area clear and not draw attention to it, you're going to get a much nicer effect, and you're going to be much happier with that. So I'm going to pop it there. And I have high coloring, so I even need a little bit of color on my face after I've neutralized everything. I don't want the high coloring all over the place. And you see how wonderful that looks? It gives that balance. But what's really interesting, let me move my hair out of the way. It's helping with this jowly bit here, because when all the emphasis is up here, this bit looks much more jowly. Even though I've done my bronzer here, it still makes this bit look jowly. And I put the bronzer here as well. So this gives that a really gorgeous kind of lift. So you can see how this side is kind of being squashed like this. And this side here is all going lifted like that, which is really what I want to do. Now, on to the final step, step 5, and that's lips. Now the final step, which is lips. Now lips is a tricky one. Now the reason why I'm saying that is because our pH in our lips can change the color of the lipstick, lip gloss, lip balm, whichever product that we're putting on. And so you may be looking for a beautiful corally color, and you've got that coral color and you put it on and it turns bright orange. Yikes. That's not the color that you were looking for. Or it goes bright pink because it goes more to the blue spectrum. That's also not the color that you were looking for. So if that happens to you, and I know that there's a lot of times where you've got like 6 or 7 different colored lipsticks and none of them are the right color. What you need to do is, if you're changing colors more orangey, you need to look at ones in the same color family, but that are more bluey toned. And they have lots of selections, I know that. So if that happens, that's what you do. If you're changing colors more bluey toned, then you look at colors that have got more of an orangey or warm undertone, and that will help you find the right color. It isn't going to be the color that's in the bullet, but it's the color that goes and changes on your lips. Now, let's talk about color as we get older as well, especially for those ladies who have got gray hair, white hair, silver hair. You want to have a little bit more of a bolder lipstick. You don't want to have anything that's too pale because it will look like you have no mouth. Now, this is a color that I used to wear a lot, and this holds true. A lot of the beigey, paler, nudie kind of colors kind of drain us of color as we get older. So this is the color I used to wear a lot of. And I'll pop that on again. And it's not a horrible color. It's actually quite a nice color, but it kind of washes me out. And even if I use a matching lip pencil to give my lips a little bit more definition, it still washes me out. And it will wash somebody out, even if you're a blonde. You don't want to have that sort of almost no mouth effect. So let me just change that up. I'm going to go tissue. I'm going to take this off and show you a great way to give your lips a little bit more definition. Okay. So as we get older, our lips tend to lose fullness. They lose definition. They lose pigment. I mean, you name it, it does it. So this is a great way of adding a little bit more definition and get the lips looking a little bit more plump. If you want to add a little bit of fullness, what I usually do is take my Min pen, which, like I say, I use for so many different things, and I run it along the top of my lip, like a little bit of a milk mustache. This is great for you ladies who may have fine lines around your lips as well. You don't need to be a smoker to get those fine lines. If you're someone who pouts a lot, or if you're someone who drinks through straws a lot, you may have this. So I put a little bit there. Then I'm going to just rub it with my finger to blend it in. And you see how that's just given a little bit of a lift around my lips. Now I'm going to use a lip pencil. Now I'm going to go for a slightly corally kind of shade because I really like the corals, because I feel it gives my skin a lift. And I'm going to use a color called Guava. I'm not making it too sharp, the point on the lip pencil, because I don't want to have a hard line. And I'm going on the outer edge of my lips. Now, I know I'm mushing them together. The reason why is because I don't really want a really strong lip line. I want it to kind of meld into my lips. So almost, if I wanted to, I could wear it just like this. But I do love a little bit of a gloss. And I don't want a big, thick, heavy gloss all over the place. So I'm going to be using a little bit of gloss here. And I'm going to use it mainly in the center. But you can see how this lifts my face. And it even lifts the side that's going droopy. So it makes this side look even better. And this is such a pretty color, and it works really well. I'm not saying that you should wear this color, but I'm saying that you don't go for those really flat, nudie kind of colors. And if you want a long lasting, try one that's got a little bit of a sheen to it so it doesn't look too heavy on your lips as well. I really hope you've enjoyed this video. I'm going to do a final little touch because I'm going to add a little bit of powder just to take away a little bit of shine there. Let me just check there. It looks like I've got a little, no, that's fine. I'm going to put a little bit of powder. So I'm going to be using my under eye and face brightener because I don't want it to be too heavy. And I'm going to just pop that there. And a little bit on my forehead just to even that area out. Oh, I can even pop a little bit on my lid if I want to do that, to lift that. Now, if you've got a darker complexion, of course, you would use a darker powder, not something that light. And I really hope you've enjoyed this video. And I hope it's given you some ideas of how you can take your looks and redefine them so that you look great at any age. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.